is Peter Ryan, I'm a tip man, and I'm an Irish Paralympian. And when you tell people that you're a Paralympian, they generally, whether they say it or not, they want to know what's wrong with you. So there's no PC here either, so don't fret. I'm actually legally blind. So 9 years ago, I lost between 80 and 90% of my vision. I lost my central vision in both eyes. And it's a condition called Leber's Hereditary Optic Neuropathy. Now, because we only have 10 minutes here to talk to you, I won't say Leber's Hereditary Optic Neuropathy ever again. But I think I'm uniquely qualified to talk about being visually impaired, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about leadership, and I suppose more so through having a problem and how you deal with that. So the Paralympic side of it, I got involved 6 years ago, and I've been traveling, representing my country. I've been to the Paralympics in Rio. I've been to like 8 World Championships. And I'm in training for Tokyo. But to go back a step, I wasn't always visually impaired. And that's the beauty of my story, I think, and the simplicity. Like I grew up the very same as each and every one of you. I took every opportunity to get out of school and come to things like Zeminar. But like I said, I lived a perfectly beautiful, simple life. And when things are simple and easy, you don't appreciate much. I was good at sports. I was making tip hurling teams. I was getting international soccer trials. I was Jack the lad, and I was having fun. And I left school. I went driving a car. I was working in construction. I was just doing all this normal. And the thing about it is, like I say, you don't always appreciate. So when I was just turning 20, I thought I needed contact lenses. And that's how it all kicked off. And essentially, to condense that story, I went for tests for about 3-4 months and came back LHON. And essentially what that meant was, over the space of the next 14 months, I was going to lose between 80 and 90% of my vision. That's my story, is like dealing with that or not dealing with it. And I did all the cliched things that you think a young 19/20-year-old would do, but I was in that room and I was getting the diagnosis, and like, this is the upfront bit, like my parents were crying. And it was kind of there and then I decided, right, they're crying, so you're not allowed to cry. And that became my mantra then, where I wasn't crying, but I wasn't talking about it and I wasn't dealing with it. And like, week by week, month by month, I was losing my sight. And it's not a very normal thing to happen. And I always say now, like, a normal reaction to an abnormal thing isn't normal. But I felt the need to present that normality. And I'm a great man for quotes, okay? I love English, I love quotes, whatever. But the only thing I really want you to take, if you only take one thing I say today home, it's comparison is the thief of joy. So I lived in this world where I was losing my sight and I wasn't dealing with it, and I had zero acceptance. And I decided to put up a front of, sure, it is what it is, and I know I'm grand, and people are worried about me. And like, week by week, these jobs were racking up, things I can't do. And it was like, I lost the sports, then I couldn't drive a car, then I couldn't work in construction, then I can't see my mobile phone, now I can't see the telly. And it was just, the list was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was weighing me down. And the thing about negativity is, like, while they were all practical things, then I started projecting into the future, because I didn't know, where is this going to stop? The doctor said 90% blind, but what's 90%? 90% could be anything when you don't know. So I'm living in my head all the time, like, where is this going? And meanwhile then in the real world, yeah, no, I'm grand, yeah. I wasn't grand. I was absolutely cracking up. But for some weird reason, I wouldn't allow myself just to do that. And eventually, look, things came to a head. You can't stay acting like that. And this list of things, it just bet me down. And I'm lucky. I'm from a great area. I have brilliant friends and a brilliant family, and they were looking out for me. And I wasn't always the best version of myself. And they just said, Pierre, you need help. So eventually, I went down the road of counselling to condense the story. Look, I'm doing questions afterwards. I'd love to answer anything you have, but I went for counselling, and it was without a doubt the best thing I've ever done. I actually went to a treatment centre. I needed that much counselling. I gave 28 days inside and looking at myself and looking at the problem. And I suppose when I was breaking down the problem, like, all my upset was coming from this comparison piece. Like I said, it was comparison is the thief of joy. I could be happy doing nothing anymore. I was comparing my sports to previously. I was trying to tell myself I don't have a disability. I was like, I can't drive the car, can't go to matches, can't do everything in my life, I was comparing it to before. And as long as I was doing that, I couldn't be happy. So, like, this treatment centre, this counselling, it made me look at the condition and what is it, and I actually started articulating it, and I was like, one day I kind of realised there's actually nothing wrong with me except my eyesight. I'm perfectly healthy. Like, I have a great family, I have a great life, I've all these things going for me. But I did have this huge list of things you can't do. And the thing to watch out for with negativity, because that list started off very practical. It was, you can't drive the car, you can't play sports, you can't see your feet, you can't fucking see your face when you look in the mirror, you can't use the mobile. All those things were practical. Then I decided to project, and I started telling myself, oh sure, you'll never have a girlfriend, you can't drive a car, and you'll never have kids because you can't collect them from school. And I was looking at things that were 10, 20 years down the line, but I was letting them absolutely bum me out and stop me doing anything today. So I'm back to comparison being the thief of joy, and it robbed me of about 3 years because I wouldn't deal with it, I wouldn't accept, and I wouldn't talk about it. So this list that I talked about, and it ruined my life, and that's not an understatement. It ruined a lot of things. I now just call it like things I can't do the same as before, or things I can do, it just takes me longer. And I suppose I'm here because I'm talking about leadership. And when I think of that list, and I remember like the day I wanted to just do one thing on it, just do that, the simple thing. It's not about big change, it's not about grand gestures, it's doing one thing you thought you could never do before. And the buzz I got off of that, I was like, yeah, maybe I can make a life for myself being visually impaired, and maybe it's not going to be the end of me. And then I want to do something else. I didn't have the courage, whatever way you want to put it. I remember leaving school. I got the points to go to college, but I didn't go. I went working in construction because it was the easier option. I always took the easier option and the one that presented as being normal to my friends. I never wanted to push the boat out. And in that treatment centre, I decided, you get a second crack at this. You get to decide what kind of person you want visually impaired Peter to be, legally blind Peter. You can do whatever you want. So struck off one thing on the list. I had to go back. I went back to college. I just started getting this momentum from doing new things. And the confidence I was getting from that, like obviously sport was a huge part of my life. Played for Tip, did the soccer thing, all that. And I thought that was gone forever. I went back at sport. Before I knew it, I was on an Irish Paralympic team. I'm now traveling the world, get to race all around. Like, I thought all my friends were going backpacking. I thought I could never see the world because I'm visually impaired. I've been all over the last 6 years, and it's thanks to a shift in mentality. Like I always say, I have the exact same condition that I got 10 years ago. My life is completely different, but I decided to make those changes. And the absolute irony of the whole thing is, my initial decision, when I go back to that room getting the diagnosis, I was like, you can't cry, because if I don't cry, they don't cry. That was the most stupid decision I've ever made in my life, because I wasn't happy. And as long as you're doing things for other people or comparing to other things, you can never be happy. And the real irony is I probably got a little bit more selfish. I decided to look after myself, do the things that make sense to me. And now my family and friends are far happier because I'm genuinely happy. I'm doing things that matter. I'm here talking to kids. I'm talking to companies around the world. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. Be the change you want to be. Joanne said it there, like, if not me and you, then who? And that's how I live. I don't actually care what people think about me. And when you get rid of that filter, life becomes a whole lot simpler. I don't compare how many followers I have on Instagram to my mates. I don't do any of that. Like, just be yourselves. You have leaving certs coming up. If someone wants to go into construction, you're no or less valuable than the person that's going doing medicine. Just be yourselves, and the byproduct of that is the people around you are going to be happy. I'd love to answer a few questions here afterwards, but that's a quick synopsis of my story. I've absolutely loved getting to tell you a bit of it. Hopefully there's some little piece of good in there for you. And yeah, lads, problems are relative. We all have them. Mine isn't any better or worse because I'm here, okay? It's what you do with it once you see what it is. So thanks a million.